Okay. Yes, 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 Deborah, I'm so glad that you're here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you so much for being here today. Today, it is such a joy to talk about anger. And I know you love the topic. And for those of you who are watching, I want to take a moment now just to introduce my dear friend to you. She's on a journey, learning to share, and she's excited to teach about anger. So let me just give you her background. She's a transformational coach. She's an author and the founder and CEO of the Institute of Daily Communication for Families and Individuals. I took a class with Debra several years ago, and it was so transformative. I walked away realizing how important it is to connect when you communicate. And so today we're going to talk about anger. So I wanted to make sure that you have your notepads ready to write down all the nuggets that Debra is going to share. And at the end, she's going to give you her contact information, how to reach her, how to book her for meetings, for workshops, and different sessions, right? And I'll also put all that information in the chat. So without further ado, Debra, I am so excited that you're here. Thank you.
You have no idea how excited I am.
Exactly. I'm so glad that we're able to connect virtually, right?
Right.
So I want to ask you the first question, and I'm sure people would really want to know, how come you're so passionate about anger? Tell us how, learning about anger, why are you so passionate about
it? I think I was 6 months into my retirement.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I retired from the Department of Corrections. And in my mind, if I didn't ever look at another probationer or think about volatile anger, it would have been too soon for me. Too soon. It would have been too soon for me. I happened to be leaving a group meeting, and one of the members called me over to her. She was a counselor at one of the high schools. She said, Debra, she says, I need to talk with you.
Mm-hmm.
I said, Karen, talk with me about what? She said, I want you to come to the school and speak with some girls that I'm in a meeting with. I have this group, and they're so angry, Debra. Wow. They're actually angry with their mothers.
Okay.
Her name is Karen. I said, Karen, I'm used to dealing with adults. I'm not used to dealing with young people. She says, Debra, and she gave me this look.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the look that the sisters give you?
Yes, ma'am.
and she kind of like nodded that head like they do.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be there. And I said, yes, ma'am. So I'm used to dealing with adults. I'm used to dealing with criminal adults with anger behavior. I'm used to doing that. But because that's a job, you don't really get passionate because it's a job.
Right.
So I'm retired now, and she asked me to do this. So of course I went to the library. I don't know anything about dealing with young people and they're angry. So of course I had to go get some information. And I went to the library and fell in love with a book. And I'm going to try to share my screen right now. Okay. And bring it up. All right. I'm going to share my screen. All right. Okay. Host disabled participant screen sharing. Okay, that's okay. That's all right. That's all right. That's okay. The name of the book is Nonviolent Communication by Marshall Rosenberg, PhD.
Oh, I remember you told us that. You showed us that book in the training.
That was his, and I just fell in love with that book. I fell in love with that topic. And I've read a lot of books since then, but that was the book, Nonviolent Communication, that actually talked about most of the problems that we have within our relationships, professional, personal, is simply because we don't know how to communicate clearly.
Right,
We don't know how to do that. You know, we talk in generalities, and that's what causes a lot of. So, I mean, I could go on and on, but that's basically how it started. Miss Karen, who's a counselor at one of the high schools, would not take notes. She says, "No, ma'am, you are going to be, and you are going to talk about it."
But Miss Karen was right, because not only do adults need help with anger management, young people need help. So the next thing that I want to find out from you, how do people react to you when you talk about anger?
I don't have no anger. I don't have any anger issues. and it really saddens me. It really does. It saddens me because, number one, if you're breathing,
right,
you have anger issues.
Wow.
And if you're breathing, you have anger issues. And if you're telling yourself you have no anger issues, and you are actually telling yourself that you are walking in the light, if you will, then you can't be walking in the light. And I'll tell you a little further down why you can't be walking in the light, but we'll just leave that right there. If you're breathing, you have some anger issues, but we'll just table that for right now.
Okay, so tell us, how is anger manifested, and where does it come from?
All right. Anger is actually manifested in your thoughts. Really. The thought to blame, the judging, regrets, punishment, negative thoughts. If you don't believe what I'm saying, try to have a negative and a positive thought at the same time and see if you can.
Not possible. Not possible at all.
You can't. You cannot. You cannot. That's how it is manifested. Is manifested in our thoughts. When we want to blame. When we
I remember when I was going through my marriage falling apart and things happening, girl, I was blaming. So I had to get a rein on that and pull that in. So how is anger managed? Can it be managed? Is it possible to manage it?
Anger can be managed when you learn how to exercise assertive anger.
Okay, interesting. Assertive anger.
And we will hold that thought because I'll be getting into that later. But assertive anger is the anger that you want to practice. You want to start thinking about assertive anger, because assertive anger is positive anger. And rather than giving you a whole dissertation, I'm not going to give you that. But the fact of the matter is, when a person is managing their anger, their first thought is to have goodwill. That's their first thought. And if we're walking in the light, and I'm not here to preach, but if you're walking in the light,
yes, ma'am,
you want to always think about goodwill.
Goodwill.
That's what we're supposed to think about. We're supposed to always think about goodwill. So if you are assertive with your anger, you care about what the other persons think.
Right.
When you manage your anger, you're not hollering and screaming and trying to be controlling. You actually want a resolution.
Right.
You can manage your anger, and it's called assertive anger. But we will get to that. We will get to that a little later as well.
But we're going to lead right in, because my next question for you is, I know there's several types of anger, and we won't have time for all of it today. So do you have time to maybe give us 3 of the common ones?
Sure. But before I do that,
go ahead.
Let's talk about where anger actually originated from.
Well, tell us, because I don't think everybody knows that.
Anger actually originated from God. Yes. That's where anger originated from.
Okay.
And if you reading scripture, and again, I'm not here to preach.
Right.
God got angry. Read the scriptures. Go read it.
You're right. I've seen it.
He got angry. But what's the difference in his anger and how we handle our anger? Here it is. He never gave away his power.
I like that. I like that. Don't give away your power.
We give away our power when we start arguing and fussing and not listening. We give it away, our power. We give it away. And that's how we victimize ourselves. That's why all the pain comes, because we give away our power.
Yes. Say that again.
He never gave away his power. God, he wanted you to love him and wanted us to love each other, and God would say, nah, Isaac, the prophets, right? You need to tell him. you need to tell him. So he'd go to the prophets and he said, hey, Isaac, you need to tell him. You need to tell him what's going on. And Isaac, John, James, Samuel. Well, thus said the Lord.
I hear you.
But what I want to leave with you is this: the difference in how we handle anger and how God handled anger. See, because God didn't give away his power.
Right.
God can immediately forgive. He didn't give his power away. He can immediately forgive. He could immediately take our transgressions and throw them into the sea of forgiveness, because he never gave away his power.
Yes, I like that.
He didn't say things he didn't mean. He didn't argue, fuss, and fight. He wanted love. He wanted you to love him. He did things, I'm sorry to say, but if you didn't cooperate, he kind of like just wiped you away.
Well, we'll save that for another time. We'll get into that. But we're sharing about the top 3 common anger.
Okay. There are several types of angers, several. But the 3 main types of anger, you have passive anger, and that passive anger is that anger that you internalize and you keep inside of you. That's passive anger. That passive anger that you use to stonewall. And one of the characteristics of passive anger is everything is all right. You're angry. The person who you're talking to know you're angry. Oh, no, I'm not angry. No, I'm all right. No, I'm fine. But one of the characteristics of passive anger is the person is actually waiting on a time to get back at you, if you will, because a person who is experiencing passive anger is a person who is not being honest.
Wow. They're not being honest.
They're not being honest. They're not being honest. They simply don't know how to express or communicate what it is that they're feeling based on past experience or what have you.
Right, right.
So they hold their anger in. We could even use the example, someone who's been to prison.
Okay.
They know what anger can do for them because anger has done this before.
Right.
So if they don't get some kind of counseling to help them with it, then they will internalize it. And they're internalizing it simply because of what has occurred before.
Okay.
Now you have aggressive anger.
Aggressive. Okay, you did mention that before, Kate.
Aggressive anger is the person who's held the anger in for so long.
Wow.
And now they are exploding.
Yes, ma'am.
Aggressive anger, they're exploding. And they're exploding because sometimes it could be colossal, if you will, sometimes. And sometimes it could be small. Jack, John, Joe came home and for the 3rd time, his dinner wasn't ready. So It got real serious. Aggressive anger. That anger when the fumes is coming out the head.
It's like a pressure cooker, right?
Right. You've seen that's aggressive. And most people who are experiencing aggressive anger is actually trying to control. They're trying to control. And they're actually using their power in an inaccurate way, if you will.
Yes.
Because anger is an emotion that's not good and it's not bad. It's just an emotion. In society, we attach feelings to emotions, and we tell each other what's good and what's bad. Anger gets a bad rap because anger is actually good for you. And when you get into assertive anger, which I started with a few minutes ago, assertive anger, assertive anger, when a person learns to manage their anger and they become assertive, they like the fact that they feel good and they make the other person feel good. When there's a conflict, they don't want to run and hide and don't want to act like nothing is wrong and don't want to start hollering and screaming over the least little thing. An assertive person wants to come to a resolution quickly.
Yes, got you.
That actually entails everybody.
And what's the third one?
That's it. Assertive anger.
Passive anger.
That's the anger that you want to manage, is assertive anger. You want to carry that with you always. Assertive anger helps the body.
Oh, okay.
It helps the body. It helps relieve. Assertive anger. Passive anger is that anger that you internalize. And the aggressive anger is that one that's got the fumes coming all out the head.
Aggressive. Okay. All right. So the topic of our talk today is to have better communication, effective communication, to have better relationships. So I've heard about how empathy kind of fit right in with the effective communication. So what is empathy? All right.
Empathy is when you actually can feel what another person is feeling. You actually can feel what another person is feeling, and you don't have a problem being vulnerable enough to express it. Here's an example. And we're gonna do an example right now.
Yes, okay? Go ahead.
All right. We have 3 acquaintances who are leaving a conference. And it's late in the evening. The driver is driving like 80, 85 miles an hour.
Okay.
It's on a Friday evening and it's midnight dark. So the passenger in the front seat says, "Oh, wow, it's so dark out here. If we were in Jacksonville, there'd be police everywhere." How would you respond to that?
Well, it all depends. If it's dark, I may say, yeah, it's dark, but look at the stars. I may look at something else.
To be empathic and to feel what the other person is feeling, because you've listened to what they're saying. So you say something like, "You kind of scared? Are you afraid?" Because you just connected with them.
Yes.
Don't be afraid. I didn't realize that I was driving that fast. I'll slow down.
Okay.
Connected with them.
Connection. Yes.
That's what empathy is. Listening and connecting. But that's not what happened. That's not what happened. I know good well you ain't talking to me about my driving. I got my CDL license. And I'm talking about Deborah because Deborah was the one. And I said, "Oh my goodness gracious."
Yes.
Let me be quiet. Because I sensed that she was angry. She was angry. Instead of connecting with me and say, oh my goodness, I didn't realize I was driving that fast. Let me slow down. You know, I understand you being afraid because you connected. He listened to what I was saying. Oh my goodness.
Yes.
But she missed it. And that's what empathy is. You want to connect with the person.
Yes.
Someone calls you and they say, hey, I have been to Italy. You say, oh my goodness, you have? It sounds so exciting.
Exactly.
When can you come over here and tell me, oh my goodness, come over here? And they come. And she says, oh my goodness, I'm so glad you came. Tell me, what did you like about the trip?
Right.
What did you like about it? What did you love about it? You excited, it's in your voice. They're excited, you were excited. You were connected with the excitement. You don't start telling them about, well, you know, I had a chance to go to Italy.
That's not empathy at all.
I mean, there's a lot of definitions, but I tend to like to speak to the layman, if you will.
Yes.
Empathy is simply listening to connect.
Listening
I mean,
to connect.
you can hear about walking in your shoes and but it's listening to connect.
I like that.
You want the person, when you become an assertive person, you want the person to feel valued. Anybody who comes to you for whatever reason they come to you, good, bad, or indifferent, they're actually coming to you because they want to feel valued.
Yes, I like that. And I'm all about adding value to people. Every time that I connect with folks, if I'm talking to them, I have a motto that whenever I'm in anyone's presence, when I exit from their presence, I must leave them with something positive to remember. So that's empathy. Yes, I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for that example.
Yeah, those are, I really could have given you all these definitions, but no.
Well, you know what? I'm glad you're holding back a little bit before, for those who are connecting with us. I want them to be able to just get a little snippet, little nuggets of what you can help them to find out about themselves, how you can help them to connect, how you can help them identify what type of anger they're dealing with, or somebody in their family or somebody they're doing relationships with, so they can reach out to you and have a talk with you and have a sit down. So tell us, you just shared what empathy looks like and effective communication. Can you just give us a little bit about effective communication? What does that look like?
When a person is communicating effectively, Celia, they're being very specific and they're being very on purpose.
Yes, I like that. On purpose and very specific. I like that.
And you're being very specific because you know what it is that you want to say. You're vulnerable enough to say it. You're transparent.
Yes.
A person is more apt to listen to you when you're transparent. You have, I'm gonna use myself for an example. I'm gonna give you two examples. One is gonna be funny, the other's not gonna be so funny. You mentioned that I'm an author. In my book, Standing Still, The Art of Effective Parenting, I was 19 years old when I
this is the book.
I was convincing my mom that, and this is the truth, I was convincing my mom that the next day didn't start until 7 o'clock. I wanted to stay out all night. So I was, she was like, Gail, I want you to be in this house.
I read that in your book.
So that when I go to bed, everybody, she was very open, very honest, and very transparent. Didn't holler, didn't scream or anything. But I didn't get it. So if you read all the chapter, you know that the effective communication was when I came home and she had locked me out. That was very effective. Now, I'm not. What are you doing? Did you hear me? Okay. So that was effective. Yes. Yeah, it was very effective. I mean, effective in a not so funny way, but a funny way, but it was effective because she had told me, she had opened up, she said, hey, when I go to bed, I want everybody in my house to go to bed.
Right.
And she expressed that to me. But I was 19 and I couldn't seem to get her to buy the issue of the 7 o'clock in the morning. And we went through that. So then she says, okay. So I'm locked out. So here's another one. You have a son who is out late and not calling when he's out late.
Right.
And you say to him, if you're going to be late, give me a call, please. And that's all you said. And he heard it and he didn't hear it. And so he comes in and he's late again. And here's your vulnerability. You said to him, you says, James, when you don't come in and you're out late, I worry about you. It gives me an anxiety and I can't sleep well.
Right. Right.
And I want you, if you're going to stay out, to just call me and let me know that you won't be coming in.
Right.
There's no fussing, there's no cussing, there's no hollering, there's no nothing. She's opening, she's being vulnerable. Now, what we learn in nonviolent communication is when you're open and honest and vulnerable with a person, they hear you more than they do when you.
Exactly.
You're letting them know how it is you feel, how you feel. No blaming, no judging, no hollering, no scoop. I don't sleep well at night when I don't know where you are.
Right.
I worry. Simple. That's what effective communication looks like.
Yes.
When you're not afraid to just express yourself. And going back to God, if you will, God expressed himself. He expressed it. He expressed himself. I want you to understand, this is what I want from you. All right, Israelite who want to serve other gods. Now you need to understand. and he's vulnerable. But if we are made in his image, then we're to do the same thing. We're not to get caught up.
Yes.
And that's where our problem comes in, because we get caught up. Don't get caught up. Say what you need to say in a vulnerable, open manner, very specific. There's no need to get moralistic. You know how we get when things are not working. You know, we want to get to the person morals. No.
Yeah, I hear you. But with my last question, we're wrapping up. We need to, set the pace here as we wrap up. I'm all about building resilience, and I had to come back from a lot of things in my life, and I had to deal with the things that were making me angry. And taking your course helped me a whole lot. So can you tell us how having effective communication can help build resilience? And we'll end on that. Okay.
First of all, we understand that a resilient person is a person who handles their adversity. That's a resilient person. A resilient person don't allow adversity to keep them in the valley, if you will.
Yes.
A resilient person understands that you are gonna fall down, but as soon as you fall down, you get back up.
Yes, ma'am.
And you get back up simply because you know without a shadow of a doubt that God is for you. He's not against you. And if you have anybody on this side that you need to please, it need to be him. So you're resilient. Just that alone, you're resilient.
I hear you.
Now, how does effective communication come in? When you learn how to communicate specifically, on purpose, you have a sense of calmness.
Yes.
Anxiety does not control you. You've said what you wanted to say in a very effective manner. You don't have to worry about, well, I should have said yes when I said no. I should have said no when I said none of that.
Right.
because you thought about what it was you're going to say. When somebody asked you something, you just didn't, oh, okay. You said something like, I need to check on that.
Mm-hmm.
Let me get back with you.
Exactly.
All that calms anxiety because you know how to effectively say, I'm not really sure about that. Let me give that some thought. And how does effective communication affect resiliency? Because you are aware of what you just did, and you feel good about what you just did. You feel good about value. You feel good about the fact that you feel fulfilled and the other person feel fulfilled.
Right.
You were in a person's presence and you really felt that you connected, that you really listened to them. Because you felt that you really listened to them.
Right.
And so when you're feeling all these emotions, listening, a person who is a resilient person, you can bet your life they don't mind failing. They have no fear when it comes down to trying something new. Because they believe that if they fall down, they're gonna get back up.
That's right.
And they believe and they know effectively. I know that I just communicated what it is that I meant to communicate.
Yeah.
I meant to communicate that, and I communicate. And they don't come back worrying, oh my goodness, I shouldn't have done that. Oh my goodness, I shouldn't have said that. No, because they thought about what they were saying before they said it. And in my opinion, as well as research, it tells you when you communicate effectively, there's a lot of calmness within you. Anxiety. You don't experience a lot of anxiety. And that's how, in my opinion, resiliency helps effective communication. Effective communication helps resiliency because within your heart, mind, body, and soul, here again, I'm okay.
Yeah, we could go on and on about this. And we're in a season where people are experiencing a lot of anxiety and a lot of anger. So I needed to share, how can people reach you? How can they get in touch with you? Because I'm going to put your information in the comment box when I'm done. But just for those who are listening, how can they reach you? And guys, if you got anyone is on that have a question, send it right over and I'll be able to ask Debra for you. Go ahead, Debra.
Okay. Website www.instituteofdatacommunication.com. www.instituteofdatacommunication.com. That is my website. I have a business page, Facebook business page. And that is the Institute of Data Communication for Families and Individuals. That's my Facebook business page.
Okay.
My phone number, 904-945-8716.
Excellent. So like I said, I thank you so much for being here. You said a lot. I took some notes about the listening to connect. I love that. And we must say specifically what we want and on purpose. And we need to be vulnerable and transparent.
Amen.
I love it. I'm so glad you stopped by today, my friend. And I learned a lot from you. This is why I'm sharing you with others so they can seek you out and they can reach out to you and make sure that they get all these great nuggets to manage their life, have effective communication, and enjoy better relationship. Thank you so much for being here. Any parting words?
Parting words is I am going to do a Zoom myself.
Okay.
Which is going to be in 2 weeks, and I'll give the date.
Okay.
And the next thing I want to finally leave with is very simply this. The universe tells us that we are all one. We are all one. What impacts you impacts me. What affects me affects you. So we must learn how to communicate. We must learn how to control our anger. We're not living under a rock, and we can actually see what anger and miscommunication, if you will, is doing to us as a society.
Right.
We must. And not only that, what it actually does to our bodies.
Mm-hmm.
The inability to communicate is doing quite a bit to our heart, if you will.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
It's doing a lot
Mm-hmm.
to our heart. So if for no other reason than just to calm ourselves.
Yes. 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 Mm-hmm.
Learn. Let's learn from each other. Let's teach each other. Let's help each other, because we are one, and that's something that we need. Nobody, Tom, Dick, or Harry need to tell us that. We can see that. I can see it.
Excellent. Again, thank you so much, Deborah, for hanging out with us for this time. I don't see any comments or questions in the chat, so thank you so much. So when you set up your next Zoom, forward me the information and I'll share it with my group. Thank you again. Have a great evening and may God bless you.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
All right. Yes.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.